Hello and welcome to the video of the start of my model railroad. Just wanted to document a little bit what I had been doing so maybe I can remember in a few weeks, months, or years why I made some of the decisions I made and maybe some lessons learned so that I won't make the same mistakes twice. First thing is I've decided to go with HO scale. As you can see here, I had HO a lot as a kid. My dad had some as well. Never really any full layout, just a couple of different ovals on similarly built tables in the downstairs room there. I'd always wanted to build a railroad, and I was kind of worried because I live in a one-bedroom apartment. It's pretty small, as you can see here. So what I did is I figured out I had about a 4x6 area with which I could actually have a layout. And I didn't think there'd be much I could do with that other than maybe an oval like you see here. And then I went online and I looked, and there were a whole bunch of 4x6 layouts, and started getting excited that I could do something in the space that I had available. And I wish I would have known that years ago, and then it'd be further along at this point. Anyway, I'd love to say this is day number 1, but I've been doing a lot of research online, looking at things, realizing there's a lot that I don't know. And, we're probably at about day, say like 100 or so. Only had, something physical objects for maybe the last 2 weeks or so. I started out with some bench work. Now, I know there's a lot of guidelines out there for strength of tables and things like that. I went with 2 simple 4-foot by 3-foot tables, mainly because they would fit in the back of my car, so I could build them elsewhere and then transport them to my apartment. And I went with just a 1/2-inch plywood here on the top, 2x3s framing supports, and 4-foot tall 2x4s for the legs. I am not a carpenter by any means. I did build these pretty much myself, so by no means copy my patterns or my expertise here at woodworking. I just went with some 5/16 bolts just to hold the legs together, so that way I could take them apart, because I'll probably be moving in a few months, so I didn't want to do anything too permanent. My floor is pretty warped, and I was worried that the tables were going to be pretty irregular, and that I was going to have to adjust things or shim the feet, but it's actually pretty flat. There is a little bit of a gap here, but I'd say less than 1/8 of an inch, probably more like a 1/16 or so, so I'm not too worried at the moment. Because I went with HO scale track, I figured that I was going to go with something that was pre-built to the roadbed, and I really don't like the look of a lot of the pre-roadbedded track, especially the Bachmann Code 100. I grew up with Code 100 track, had a couple starter sets. There's actually a pile of it over there you can see back behind us, some of the old boxes. But I really liked the look of the brown Code 83 track. I know it's a little lower, and I know it's a little bit more in scale. I wasn't too worried about the fact that it was in scale. I tended to like the look of it better than the say the Code 100 track here. I don't know, the black ties to me just kind of looked a little fake. You can even see a really old section, a power terminal section I borrowed from my dad when he used to put the section underneath the Christmas tree all those years ago. So because I didn't really feel like using the Bachmann Code 100 track, I went out and tried this Atlas True track here, and I really liked the idea of this because mainly you can separate the rails from the roadbed, and then reuse the rails later if you want to, in a more, let's just say a round 2 layout that would be a little bit better designed. So for starters, I realized as I was doing my research online and everything that I know nothing about model railroading for, say, the last 20 years or so. That's about how behind the times I am, and even when I was doing it as a kid, I was really looking at most of my dad's stuff, so that was even older still. You can see here I have just a complete mishmash. These are old trains I was able to dig out on my, they were mine, but, able to dig out from my parents' house, like down in the basement and things like that. So I have a couple of things here from a John Bull starter set by Bachmann, American 440 by Bachmann, a diesel from some, I don't even know, some mishmash brand, and things like Central Pacific Railway. I don't even know if that goes with my 060 engine here. It probably doesn't. Nothing probably matches. But for now, I'm not too concerned about that. One of my major reasons for wanting to go with brand new track was I figured then I'd have absolutely no problems. And since none of my engines are DCC, I would like to go to DCC, but I'm still learning way too much about that. Kind of a little bit overwhelming at the moment, so I figured for right now I'd just go with a simple DC layout. Let's get it plugged in here and really see that it's working. And like I said, this is just a basic oval layout with just a inside passing siding. I actually downloaded Atlas's track layout program. I found that to be very helpful and was able to design a couple different 4x6 layouts. What I really wanted to do is get a layout that would allow me to have 2 trains running continuously, and then also adds either passing siding or some extra sidings, so that way I could do some switching. And I don't know anything about automatic decouplers or anything like that. I'm still learning. This is, like I said, I've been at it for a while, but I'm still pretty much on day 1 here. I also haven't wired up any of my my turnouts, as you can see here. I was hoping to do that this weekend. Well, part of the reason why I wanted to make this video is I've been having trouble with my turnouts. I don't know if it's, maybe because the tables aren't completely flush here. Maybe you're not supposed to put a turnout right next to a re-railer. Maybe my engines are bad. I've tried a couple different, all 4 of my engines, a couple different pieces of rolling stock here, different combinations of engines of rolling stock, and I seem to have this problem where every time the train goes through the turnout here, it derails. I'll show you here by switching it manually. The engine seems to get through, but then the tender seems to separate, and then the train derails. So I'm going to stop that for now. I also have the same problem on my right-hand turnout when the train is running straight across the turnout. So basically that lets me either run the train counterclockwise going straight on the outside, or run the train clockwise and switch, on that turnout and then that turnout here. What it looks like is happening is that the flange on the wheels of the engine will pick up the inside of the turnout no problem. And they'll ride here, and maybe it'll bump a little right here, and I think this is called the frog. I'm not even sure because I'm kind of a beginner at this. Definitely a beginner at this. But I've noticed that when I run the train real slow, and I mean you can see there I was running the train pretty slow, the wheels of the car, or sometimes even the last truck there on the engine itself, will skip over this part of the turnout, and it'll go and it'll just hop and continue straight, as you could see in the video that I just, or in the little clip that I just had. So the engine's trying to go on the turnout, and the car is just trying to go straight, and you can't go 2 directions at once, so then we have a derailment. I don't really know what to do about this. I've been researching online. Everybody has just some different forums I've read have said, well, don't go with these Atlas turnouts, go with a Pico or Shinohara. I'd really like to stick with Atlas and stick with the True Track, and something a little less permanent, since I will probably be moving in a few months, and even then it will be to an apartment, not a house, so also still kind of in a temporary situation. Really looking for any kind of feedback here as to why these turnouts are giving me a problem. I don't know if it's a problem with the turnout, with the with all of these engines I happen to have here, with all of this these few pieces of rolling stock or what, but it seems pretty much both the steam engines, and this diesel was pretty good, but for the most part, the diesel will still derail also. It's not quite as apparent when I just push a single car or push, multiple cars connected. It seems to be when the, like I said, this last, truck here on the coal tender is under tension, coupled with, the first truck here on this rolling stock or similar rolling stock is under tension. Like I said, I don't know, maybe my couplings are just bad. Like I said, these cars and that engine are, getting on to be about 20 years old, but I go to train shows sometimes, and I see people selling, rolling stock from years and years and years ago, and I know you can replace the trucks and the couplers on the cars, but you know, I can't imagine that you wouldn't be able to use old rolling stock on newer track. I mean, I know there's a little bit between the code 183. I guess if you have real old European rolling stock, it's not going to work. Well, I mean, you know, upon closer inspection, it looked to me like I'm not having a problem with the flange not being able to fit properly on the rail. Like I said, it's just the problem where the rolling stock will skip over the inside of the switch here and continue straight. I emailed Atlas yesterday. It said it was supposed to take a week. I'd really like to buy some more track, expand this layout. I have an idea to get a continuous running circle in the center, a larger oval on the outside, and maybe add some switches in the middle. I don't really know anything about scenery. I'd like to learn. I've been watching some videos and, you know, interested in landscaping a little bit. There's not a whole lot I'm going to be able to do on something this small. I was thinking maybe sticking to more of a steam genre, but I mean, I know even, you know, I have a John Bull from what, you know, 1850s, 1860s or so, and I found out, I guess, today that this is probably an 060 from USRA, which would have been sometime in the late 1900s. I'm sorry, late 1910s. So I know none of my stuff really matches right now. I'm not, you know, necessarily worried about the authenticity. I'm just, you know, just getting into the hobby and, you know, seeing how much I like it before I expand the layout. And I'm assuming that that'll be a fun time. I'm just going to go with basic DCC wiring. I have a second controller. Once again, these are real old controllers from, you know, when I was a kid, and various starter sets. But anyway, you know, thanks for watching. If anybody, you know, does watch, and I hope to get this turnout problem solved so that way I can continue my layout. I'd really like to keep going with the true track, and you know, appreciate any comments, you know, constructive criticism anybody has for dealing with a very small layout like this. Like I said, my space is very limited. My apartment's pretty small, and I don't imagine my next place is going to be much bigger. One thing I was thinking about is maybe expanding this table, adding another small section so I could have a 4x8 layout, but, you know, we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching.